Welcome to the UK Travel Planning Podcast. Your host is the founder of the UK Travel Planning website, Tracy Collins. In this podcast, Tracy shares destination guides, travel tips, and itinerary ideas, as well as interviews with a variety of guests who share their knowledge and experience of UK travel to help you plan your perfect UK vacation. Join us as we explore the UK from cosmopolitan cities to quaint villages, from historic castles to beautiful islands, and from the picturesque countryside to seaside towns.
Hi, and welcome to episode 44 of the UK Travel Planning Podcast. In this week's episode, Doug and I are going to chat about our road trip around Cornwall, which we took in July 2022. So if you are planning a road trip around the beautiful English county of Cornwall, this is the episode to listen to. We're going to talk about our road trip itinerary with destination information, some travel tips and more, which will help you to plan your own perfect trip to Cornwall. Obviously, there's so much to see and do in Cornwall, wasn't there, Doug? It
was more of a question of, what things to leave out as much as it was what to include.
Absolutely. And I will stress that if you are planning to visit Cornwall, think about booking tickets, checking tides, making reservations, and really planning ahead of time so that you make the best out of your road trip around Cornwall, specifically and especially if you are visiting during the busy summer season, which is when the weather is just gorgeous. It was lovely last year. We had
so lucky.
Yeah, we had a wonderful time. But really, any time of the year, Cornwall is busy and it's popular. But obviously, over the summer months, a lot of Brits will travel down from London and from England, further Scotland, from all over the place, down to Cornwall. So it's worth remembering. So obviously, we visited in summer, so we had the long hours of daylight, didn't we? Which was great.
We did, and then we had the issue of where we're going to base ourselves. So we'll come to that in a minute.
Yeah, so we'll start off with basically just we'll talk through each of the different places we visited. This is a 7-day road trip itinerary for Cornwall. We're going to just go into a little bit of details on some places, but you can get the full itinerary on the website, so uktravelplanning.com. So if you're planning a road trip around Cornwall, you can get the full itinerary, including travel distances, times, all the kind of nitty-gritty will be in that actual article and on the show notes of this episode, which will be at uktravelplanning.com/episode 44. Can I talk about the trip?
Okay, so we started in Exeter, which is in Devon.
Yeah.
That's a good start. We went by train from Salisbury to Exeter. And the main reason we started there was I wanted to do a train line which has just reopened from Crediton to Oakhampton in North Devon. So that's why we started there.
And we also ended, didn't we? We also ended in Devon.
Well, we planned to end in Exeter, didn't we?
Yeah.
But again, I'll come to that as well later.
Oh, okay. Yes, because we did another train trip as well, didn't we? In South Devon. But anyway, okay, so thinking about the road trip where you're a little bit worried about driving on the roads in Cornwall, there are obvious options of being able to get yourself down to Cornwall and then taking a private driver guided tour. So there is a link to a podcast episode that we did with Doug from Manage Tours, which I will also link to. So if you're a little bit concerned about doing the driving down there, that is something worth considering.
Most definitely. So we picked the car up in Exeter in the morning, and then we headed to North Devon initially to a place called
Clovelly.
And this is a beautiful little coastal village. But on the way to Clovelly, we actually stopped off at a little dairy shop. We stumbled on this. We didn't know it was there, did we?
No, we didn't. We're driving past in these little country lanes, because that's what you're going to find in Devon and Cornwall. And we saw this kind of like it wasn't a hut, but it had sign for milk and milkshakes. So being a total milkshake freak, we had to stop there. And basically, you went and it was all automated. You put your money in and you could make a milkshake to take away. So it was fantastic, wasn't it?
Or just buy your milk.
Oh, milk. You could buy milk as well.
We could see the cows actually just a few hundred yards in front of us.
Yeah.
So the ladies were nearby.
So that was our kind of first just a lovely experience and something really different.
Yeah.
Built to do that. I will put some photos of that because I can imagine.
We only found it because we were the sat nav had sent us off the main road.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, absolutely. So, but we did eventually get to Clovelly after we had our raspberry milkshake. I think we settled on in the end.
Yes.
Clovelly is a absolutely stunning little village, which is on the side of a kind of hillside on the coast. It really is picture postcard and absolutely worth a visit. It's privately owned, doesn't allow any vehicle transport through its steep cobbled streets, and you'll see why, because it is very, very steep. So you have to actually pay for entrance to the village, which last year, February 2023, because we checked the price, was £8.50 for an adult. It's really important if you're going to Clovelly to wear comfortable shoes, because the path is steep, cobbled, and it can be a little bit slippery when you're walking. And you will see as you're walking down the hill, there's all these sledges, which is what people use to bring their shopping up to their cottages. So
it's most definitely worth seeing. The one thing to note with that little village is if you want something to eat and drink, there's a nice pub at the bottom. There's little museums to see. The famous author Charles Kingsley wrote his famous book there, The Water Babies.
Yeah. So the pub at the bottom is called the Snug and Harbour, so you can have a drink and some lunch. And then there is a Land Rover which operates to take you back up the steep hill. Because if you're anything like us, you won't want to walk back up it, because we didn't. No, we didn't. We're not going to mention any of the times and distances, because that's on the website. Yeah, absolutely. So after Clovelly, we went to
Tintagel. So we drive on the North Devon coast down into Cornwall, and it's just a leisurely drive. Some of it's against the coastline, some of it's not.
And then it was a park and display car park. We parked in at Tintagel. So we did have some cash for that. We were there in July, so the car parks are busy, but we did find quite a car park through the village. So if you're going to visit Tintagel Castle, obviously it's very famous, associated with King Arthur, and Merlin's Cave is there as well. So again, it's just a bit of a steep hill in places, so make sure that you're wearing good footwear, and also there's a transport service to get you back up the hill again, which is brilliant. I'm so glad they had that, because I think there's no ways I would have wanted to walk up both of those from Tintagel or Clovelly.
No, and it was hot as well.
It was.
So after that, we decided we're going to head to our accommodation. And for this, we chose a shepherd's hut. Neither of us have stayed in one before.
It was so nice.
Something a little bit different. And this was on Bodmin Moor.
Yeah. So again, I'll put a link to, which is where we based ourselves for our entire week in Cornwall. It just made sense for us to do it that way, because we were doing visits to North Cornwall and Southern Cornwall, and kind of just based ourselves in the middle.
It seemed like a best fit for us.
And it did work really well, actually. Yeah. And Bodmin Moor was absolutely fantastic. The wild horses, just the wild ponies that live on Bodmin Moor was fabulous.
And the sunrises and sunsets were
stunning. So that was day one. So then on day two, I'll just give you a quick overview of what we did. Day two, we went from the Shepherd's Hut in Bodmin Moor, went to St Michael's Mount, to Mousehole, to Port Kernow, which is where you'll find the Minnock Theatre, and then we went to Land's End, and then to St Ives. And that was a day. So we managed to fit all of that in the day. Remember, again, it's summer, so it was light mornings, and it was late into the evening as well, so you could get a whole day out.
Yeah. So we set out early, didn't we, to Penzance, where St Michael's Mount is, because we had to check the tides of the bay there, because if you wanted to walk across, obviously you need the causeway to be clear.
Yeah, so you go to Marazion in West Cornwall for St Michael's Mount, and you will actually see that from you stand on the beach, and you can see St Michael's Mount. So depending on how you time it, you can take, which is what we did. We took a boat over, and then by the time we wanted to come back, the causeway was free, and we could walk over the causeway. But I must stress, you absolutely have to check the tides. And also what's open at certain times of year, because I know we absolutely love the garden, but I believe that's shut kind of from October onwards. So you kind of have to check these things. And we did need cash again to pay for that pay and display car park at St Michael's Mount. Give yourself a few hours to enjoy the castle and the gardens. To be honest, I just loved the gardens. They were just stunning, absolutely stunning. And then you walked up the castle, didn't you?
Yes, I had to walk around the castle, and that's pretty steep as well to walk up and through there. Not much more I can say. It's a beautiful old historic house.
Yeah, and you took some lovely photos of Maurezian, so
yeah.
I'll put those in the show notes as well. I kind of was a bit lazy and just sat on the grass after the garden, and enjoyed the views. It was lovely. So after that, after St. Michael's Mile, we went off to, our intention was to go and park at Mousehole, but that didn't kind of work out, did it?
It's Mousehole, pronounced Mousehole.
Yes.
It was. Yeah, it was just so busy. It's a one-way traffic system through there, and there's only a few car parks, and we couldn't park. And that was just that. We couldn't.
Yeah, we couldn't. I mean, there's very narrow streets. It is a beautiful. You've got beautiful village cottages and shopping and fishing village cottages, and it is a lovely place to drive through. And it would have been nice to park, but again, we struggled with that.
Yeah.
So we kind of headed past Mousehole to Portcono, which I have some photos of the beach called Portcono Beach, and you would not think it was taken in the UK. It was just the most beautiful beach, beautiful
golden
blue
sands.
Yeah, golden sands, beautiful blue seas, and you also have the Minack Theatre there, which is a theatre that's open air theatre, which is built into the granite cliffs. Which again, if we arrived and there was actually a production on when we didn't have tickets, we could get parked, but there was all the tickets had been sold out. They do sell out in advance. So if you want to go to the Minack Theatre, which I would highly recommend, I think we did feel we'd missed out about that. You need to check the programme for live performance dates and get that booked. But you can park and walk down the cliffs down onto the beach, which you did. Again, I was being a bit lazy and didn't. I just took nice photographs from there.
Yeah.
And then I was probably spent an hour or so kind of just wandering around there because it was so pretty.
Yeah, it's lovely.
And then we went on to Land's End. Now, we had been to John O'Groats, so for us it was kind of natural on that trip last year that we wanted to go to Land's End. So we did that kind of whole end-to-end of the UK.
And John O'Groats is the top end, the tip of Scotland.
Yeah, and far north Scotland.
Yeah.
So I don't know what to say about Land's End. It has become quite commercialised. So I think there's kind of split opinions about it. You can have your photograph taken at the signpost, which gives a distance to kind of where you come from on the globe.
Yeah.
And it's very popular with people to kind of do that whole end to end from John O'Groats Land's End. We did actually have a very, very nice Cornish pasty there.
Oh, we did. And the truth, we actually had two.
Yes, we did.
Well, I did.
We did an ice cream, so it's nice, but it is not. It's become a little bit more commercialised. So you actually have to pay the parking to get in. It's not.
It was a very
free.
big car park there. Even in the summer, it was plenty of space.
Absolutely. So the next thing we did that day was we drove to St. Ives. So it was late afternoon by that point, and we drove the coastal B3306 road to St. Ives to have a bit of a leisurely drive, really.
Yeah, we planned that because on that north Cornwall coastline, you've got throwback to the Cornish tin mines history. So there's two particular ones. There's Levant Mine and Beam Engine, and that's owned by the National Trust. And then there's the Givor Tin Mine, which is privately owned. They are guided tours only, and you need to check the opening times for those because they're only open a few days a week. Monday and Wednesday for the Levant, and Sunday to Thursday for the Givor. We drove straight past it this time because we were not going to have enough time. We did not program that in. On the website, when we've written about this, we've given you the two different options, but you just need to include, the time for that in your schedule.
Absolutely, and people might recognise the Levant mine from the BBC series Poldark because it doubles up as a mill in the series. So you'll see it. Now, we went to St. Ives. This was not the only time that we were away that week that we went to St. Ives. And actually, we couldn't get parked. Again, the July, extremely busy. And I was saying that we did get parked, but we did not have any cash for parking. So that was something that we kind of learned from that trip around Cornwall, that to have some cash with you. Some of the machines as well worked via an app, which we struggled to use, and we just couldn't get any change for the actual parking meter. So we decided that day to kind of abandon St. Ives that day and add it into the schedule later on in the week, which turned out to be actually the best way to do it.
Yeah, maybe a good point to say, because we planned this trip very well, but we also left flexibility in there for the changing of the plans, didn't we?
Yeah, we did.
We made a conscious effort to do that.
So after St Ives, we drove back to Shepherd's Hut for the evening, and then on to day 3. So day 3, we went from the Shepherd's Hut in Bodmin Moor to the Lost Gardens of Halligan, Loo, and we went to Jamaica Inn. So that was our itinerary for day 3. So we booked the Lost Gardens of Halligan quite a long way in advance. I'd recommend that if you want to go, that you do that. They are 19th century Victorian restored gardens. Set in 200 acres, and they are absolutely stunning. The whole story around the Lost Gardens of Halligan as well. I'm not going to share that with you because you need to read on our website. And actually, I would, if you like gardens, absolutely, you need to go and visit the Lost Gardens of Halligan because they're really stunning.
I mean, some of the features of the gardens we will tell you is the Giant's Head, the Mud Maid, the Grey Lady, and the Woodlands Walk. Won't tell you any more than that. You need to go and visit.
Yeah, absolutely. And there are photographs on our Instagram channel as well, UK Travel Planning. So you can find some photos on there. There are other things that you can do in that area as well. It's not too far from the Eden Project. You've got Mevagissey and the bay around there. So, you have got some options, but I would highly recommend the Lost Gardens of Halligan. It's a long time since I've been at the Eden Project. I think I went first when it first opened, so a long time ago.
And then after we'd been there, we decided we wanted a bit of a seaside trip.
We did, yes.
So what we decided to do, we went to Liskeard train station. There's 2 parts to Liskeard train station. There's one is for the main line and one is for the branch line down to the little fishing village of Loo.
Yes, and that's spelled Looe, not Loo.
Yeah, that's right, yeah. I mean, it's a very picturesque little train line, picturesque little village. And we did the very typically British thing. We sat there and had ice creams on the pier.
Yes, we did. Just be careful with the seagulls. I always say that because the seagulls in any coastal area in the UK, in Cornwall, they're huge and they will try and take the food out of your hands, chips or fish or hot dog or ice cream. They'll go for anything. They don't really care. I
mean, that's another picturesque sort of postcard sort of type village. It's a Victorian village.
So is Loo the village that is the site of the new BBC series?
Oh, that's right. Beyond
from
Paradise.
A Death in Paradise?
Yeah, that's filmed in Loo.
Yeah, so if anybody watches that new series, what's it called again?
Beyond Paradise.
Beyond Paradise. So that's a spin-off from the A Death in Paradise? Death in Paradise,
yes.
TV series. So we did explore the harbour and the pier, and just it was really lovely, wasn't it?
Yeah, it's called the Banjo Pier.
Banjo Pier. Ah, okay. Yeah, so we did that. So that was after that we got the train back.
To Loo.
Yeah.
Because very important, you check particularly when using some of these small branch lines, that you check in the train times back, so you can actually get back to the car. Yeah.
So then, after we did get back to the car, we drove to Jamaica Inn, which is famous from the 1936 book by Daphne du Maurier. So the inn dates back to 1750. It was a coach and inn at that point. And we actually had dinner and a drink there, didn't we?
We did. Favoured by smugglers. Then, not now.
Yes, and I've got a picture of Doug in the stocks there, because there's actually stocks at Jamaica Inn. There's also a museum there as well that you can pop in and find out a little bit more of the history and the kind of smugglers and everything that was going on in Cornwall.
And that Jamaica Inn is actually on the edge of Bodmin Moor as well. So that's where we're staying.
That was a very easy drive back across the moor, past again all we just saw the wild ponies all the time, didn't we?
Oh, did we? Yeah. Do you remember when we got to drive really carefully around the moor, but we just turned this corner and there was a whole bunch of them right in the middle of the road in front of us.
Yeah, so we just slowed down in, but it was lovely to see them. And there was sheep wandering around and cows wandering around and horses and the ponies and just love it. And again, the sunsets and sunrises on Bodmin Moor were pretty amazing. I think it's pretty good. I don't know if it's classed as dark skies, but I think it might be. I need to check that. But it was absolutely stunning. So day 4, we went to St Ives. So we decided we were going to have the whole day in St Ives. But instead of driving, we did what we'd highly recommend anybody does, which is...
we took the train.
Yes.
Which is not unusual for me. If there's a train option there, I do try and look at it, don't I?
Yeah, absolutely.
So, but on the website, in the article, we put 2 options down. One is to drive, and one is to catch the train.
Yeah, but we went from St Austell to St Ives by train. So how do you do that again? Because you have to change trains.
Just outside St Ives is another little place called St Earth, and that's you can either park your car there and catch the train to St Ives, which is a good idea from what we've already said about the parking. But we caught the train from St Austell, St Earth, and then the little branch line to St Ives. And
it's a really scenic little train ride that as well, because you see Carbis Bay as you come around. It's really pretty, really pretty.
Another steep hill.
Yes, and steep hill. If you get off of Carbis Bay, if you're going to go down to the hotel there, it's pretty steep. But yeah, you sit on the right-hand side in the direction of travel when you drive going from the train from St Earth to St Ives, and you just get stunning views, stunning views. And then there's plenty of things to do in St Ives. I've got an entire article. I've got a travel guide for St Ives. I've got 10 things to do in St Ives. So you've got, fantastic fish and chips there at the Harbour Fish and Chip Shop. You can go to the different beaches.
In fact, we said they were the best fish and chips we had on the trip.
Yeah, we did. Yeah. We really enjoyed them. Yes. There's a Tate St Ives. There's a Barbara Hepworth Museum and Sculpture Garden. But just St Ives, just wandering around, is beautiful. The whitewashed the cottages and the nicely coloured doors. I mean, I took some beautiful photos. Some of my favourite photos from St Ives last year. And again, you've got a choice, beautiful beaches in that area.
Yeah.
So we spent the entire day there, and then took the train back to Bodmin Moor, where we parked the car at
St Austell.
Yeah. So the next day, we decided, as fans of Doc Martin, that we would need to go to Port Isaac. So we went to Port Isaac and then on to Padstow.
So it wasn't a long drive, about 45, 50 minutes from Bodmin Moor to Port Isaac. Now, what we decided to do, knew this from past visits, we parked at the top of the hill at Port Isaac. There's several car parks there, and you could walk down the main street or you can walk down the steps overlooking the bay.
Yeah, and you'll recognise all the school and the chemist shop, and it's fabulous kind of recognising all the places. So if you're a Doc Martin fan, there are also tours as well that you can book around Port Isaac. But yeah, give yourself maybe an hour and a half, 2 hours to explore. Yeah, really. Yeah. And then after that, we went to Padstow because it kind of is really because of fans, I suppose, of Rick Steen. And he owns a restaurant in Padstow. So we decided we wanted to try some of the fish and chips at the Rick Steen's restaurant there, which we did, which were very nice. We sat and enjoyed those with no complaints. They were good.
That was the Harbour. Rick Steen's the TV chef in the UK.
Yeah. And then, so that was a really nice day. And then we were on to day 6. So the next day we went to Paignton and Dartmouth.
Yeah, so I wanted to do the Dartmouth steam train, which is one I've always wanted to do, but I've never actually got round to it.
So we actually left Cornwall. I have to just stress on day 6 with this is we actually went to South Devon to take the steam train. But I was pleasantly surprised because I'd never visited Dartmouth before, and I was a bit like, it was gorgeous, absolutely gorgeous. And being able to take the train and then catching the little ferry across was magical. It was fantastic.
It was. It's you've got various options as to how many steam trains you do, or if you do a river cruise as well. We did what's basically called the steam train option, but unfortunately, because it was the middle of the summer and it was very, very hot,
and dry,
it was not even hot and dry. It was not safe for them to put a steam train on, unfortunately. So it was a diesel locomotive.
Yeah, but it was amazing. I thought Dartmouth was so pretty, and it's from Dartmouth that the Pilgrim Fathers departed for the New World in 1620. So historically, very important. But yes, if you can, definitely include Dartmouth into your itinerary.
Yeah.
And then we drove back to. It wasn't too far. I mean, 65 miles, 91 kilometres from when we actually went through Dartmoor National Park.
So it's a slightly longer route.
Yeah, to get the views of that. And then that was the next day was our last day, and we headed from. We were really sad to say goodbye to our Shepherd's Hut because we absolutely loved it. Somewhere I would highly recommend staying. It was so much fun and different. A bit like the glamping pod we stayed at in Far North Scotland. It was just nice to have different experiences, accommodation.
Yeah.
So the next day, we drove back to Exeter.
With an intention of dropping off the car. However,
that didn't kind of happen because it turned out that next day was going to be the hottest day of the summer last year. So it ended up being 42 degrees, which I think is about 107 degrees Fahrenheit. So hot that we had planned to meet my mum at Highclere Castle. And unfortunately, Downton Abbey, as you may know, unfortunately, it was too hot for her. So we couldn't meet them. So we decided instead of taking the train, we'd actually drive the car up to Highclere. But that's for another whole other episode to talk about that. But I have to say it was amazing. And actually sitting there and playing the Downton Abbey music was just so much fun. So that's our itinerary for 7 days in Cornwall. I'm trying to think of any kind of tips that we would share. The
one mainly, just to reinforce what I said earlier, we did plan each day, but we didn't over plan and we didn't overpack the days.
Yeah, that's true.
Because even though I'd looked on the AA for the route planner for the time and the distance between places, obviously that does not include, if you want to stop off and take pictures, if you want to stop off and just have a look around, or you can't park the car, so in which case, your plans are changed. So we had that flexibility in there, didn't we?
Yeah, we did.
Even though, there was lots of traffic, we weren't stressed, and it was very relaxed, wasn't it?
It was really good. So I'd say a few tips is allow plenty of time to park and sometimes you might not get parked. I mean, that's just the reality, especially in summer. Yeah. Carry some change for parking meters. They're not all accept cash, but you just need to have that option. Again, just talking about driving, I did no driving in Cornwall. Doug did all the driving. Roads, and I did drive when I took my daughter down there when she was 5 and drove the entire time. But roads are narrow, single file, and you can get livestock on the roads, high hedges, so you can't actually see what's coming around the corner. So you have to be really kind of careful. I'd recommend, if you are not used to driving in the UK, that you look at our episode or listen to our episode about Trippiamo, which I think is episode 11, which is a way to prepare yourself for driving in the UK. It's resources. We had a medium SUV. So don't get a huge car. You don't want to be driving a huge car around those roads in Cornwall. That's Definitely for sure. Yeah. Another thing that's worth considering as well, if you go in high season, is to book meals, even at pubs, especially for evenings at weekends, because we did struggle a little bit. So it is worth considering it. In terms of tickets, before we arrived, we'd bought the tickets for the steam railway. We bought the tickets for St. Michael's Mount and for the Lost Gardens. So we knew we were definitely going to do those on those days. So that was worth.
So we didn't book the boat across to St. Michael's until a week before, did we?
I think it was we checked the tides and we were sort of debating about what day to do it. But we did manage to get the boat booked. But I probably wouldn't recommend leaving it as late if you were planning to visit.
Another little tip, as you heard from what we did, just to break up the driving, if you can incorporate a little bit of a train trip, it does make a big difference as well, because it's fun. And places like St. Ives, we'd already found out it was a bit not so the easiest place to park.
Yeah.
And the train from St. Earth to St. Ives is, a matter of minutes. It's not far. And there's big car park at St. Earth.
Yeah, so it's easier to do that. It's actually just less stressful. Yeah. So I think that's it. I think that's given us given everybody a kind of roundup of our 7-day Cornwall road trip itinerary. There's lots of resources on the website about Cornwall Travel Guide, where to stay in Cornwall, things to see and do in Cornwall, more information about St. Ives. There's lots of photographs on the website, which will kind of illustrate all the different places we mentioned. And obviously this actual full itinerary is written up and available on the website. So you can find those at uktravelplanning.com. But the show notes for this episode are uktravelplanning.com/episode 44. So I think that's a wrap for this week. So I guess that leaves us both to say until next week, happy UK travel planning.